Hey there, everybody. This is Eric from Lally Farm. Hope you're all doing well. Glad to have you back. If you're here from our garden tours, very special welcome to you. Thought we'd talk today about a space that I haven't really talked about too much. This is out on the roadside in front of our house. Last year, this was all overgrown with invasive plant called Euonymus alatus. Spreads by runners, spreads by seed, very aggressive grower. And so this whole bed here and on the other side where these trees are was all overgrown. We had worked on cutting it back for a couple of years before I finally decided to cut it all back at the root and had the resources to rescue some of these trees. Well, all of these trees except that willow right here. All of these trees were destined for a dumpster after not being cared for a season. So we took home some free trees, and all but one of them survived. So I figured we'd show you the space and talk about the plan for it. So one of the first things that we uncovered when we took down these plants was a whole hedge leading up to this rhododendron here, but a whole hedge of wild blueberries that had been shaded out by the burning bush. So we mulched it, we trimmed it, tried to encourage new growth, and the birds have gotten all the berries so far from these plants. But that's okay because they've been an extra pollination base for the cultivar varieties that I have in the home gardens. So we're feeding the wildlife and enjoying the fruits of their labors too. You can see here we've mulched heavily with ramial wood chips, and along the front here we've got varieties of spurges and yarrow coming up, and then intentionally planted along the middle here you'll see a couple of decorative grasses that have been planted in, and some encouraged wild grasses as well. There's only about 15 houses or so on this street, but even if it's not heavily trafficked, we'd like to catch whatever sand, as you can see, gets put down during the winter for snow control, and catch any runoff or splashing. So we have the line of catchment here. We have a walking path through, coming out towards the end where the mailbox is, and then along this path here in this bed where you can kind of see the willow and then some of the other plants here that we're going to get to. We'll be planting in more fruit trees and bushes for a neighborhood forage garden for our neighbors when they walk through. So here we go. On the top of this euonymus root here, I have some haskap planted out. We have been battling still some of the leaf out from the surviving roots, but at this point it's just easy management. We just pluck the leaves, stop its potential for photosynthesis, and let the other plants that we're encouraging come through. We have a couple of grasses and lilies. We have some raspberries planted in here as well. These are all first-year transplants. Now that there is full sun access for the majority of the day, a lot of these lower growers as well, like this wood phlox seen here, can come in and provide extra forage for the bees. We have a few pots that we've overturned, broken in half, just to be safe harborage for toads and frogs in the area. You can see this tricolor willow, a nishiki by name, that we have planted out. It is not a native, but I wanted to add a little bit of transitional color between the flowering cherries that come in white and the Japanese maples that leaf out red. So some pinks and purples were called for, just to be pretty. So that's what we did. We have more willows planted along our neighbor's fence line, so we can always take native cuttings from that and propagate those out. Here you can see we have a huge amount of Lily of the Valley. We'll be replacing some of this with some ramps, wild leeks, walking onions, and things of that sort that like to occupy the same niches and are a little bit more productive for us. We have some neighbors that really love Lily of the Valley and are looking to get some, so we're going to see what we can trade for. We have this hydrangea here that was planted by a squirrel after the bushes were gone. And you can see it's a little hot spot of activity for some of the native pollinators here. As we come around to this other rhododendron that blocks off our driveway, you'll see some campanulas, some more raspberries, and then some prairie phlox as we come around. Let's wait for this car to pass. So as we get into the front beds, you'll see even more activity. Native black-eyed Susans, rudbeckias, are interplanted with some comfrey. This is a Bocking 14 sterile variety, and we use that to kind of help mitigate the amount of travel that the leftover roots can do from the euonymus. It's very aggressive by runner, and the comfrey provides us a rhizomal barrier that helps to slow down the spread of the euonymus so that it's more manageable and I don't have to go quite as wide. You can see here sweeping cherry, while not the healthiest looking plant, used to look like that one in the middle there. In fact, they all did. Like I said, these trees were all rescued from a dumpster, and with a little bit of care, a whole lot of compost and water, some slight physical abuse before I planted them, we got them to perform this year, and I'm pretty happy with it. And you can see some of our peonies along the wall. Those have come and gone, but we do still have the tall prairie phlox, along with some mallow that's coming in. This mallow is actually growing over and above some of our good King Henry, which is a wonderful little brassica. I'm going to have to come and collect some seeds from some of these soon. We have some anise hyssop growing in. There we go. This guy makes great forage for all of your tiny bees, tachinid flies, syrphid flies. We've also got some Turkish rocket here, and we can see one of those syrphid flies having a blast. Echinacea purpurea is another native here, and you can see some of our smaller moths really enjoying the first of these flowers to open up. But we have several more coming in, and each year we just collect seeds from all of these natives and scatter them amongst our beds, trying to encourage even more of them to come out. Sometimes we like to interplant some of our annuals. Keeps some of the voles and other ground critters from eating the higher value plants, so whatever spires we have of things that were gifted or surprise seeds that come up, we'll transplant out to kind of be a distraction. We have another haskap here, planted in. Didn't go quite as strongly as the one on the uphill side, but the idea is, again, we'll have some privacy space and catchment from the grasses, path through, food for the neighbors, food for us. share, but also obtain a yield for ourselves as a reward for our hard effort. Here you can see some valerian root taking off, some more wild blueberries growing in the back here before you hit some forsythias. Daylilies and strawberries are very common here. And as we come back towards this bed, I'll show you. These are downed trees and some dirt from a bed project that we did, layered over with a whole mess of wood chips. And then whenever I eat squash, I just kind of toss the pile of seeds and fruit down and let those things grow. So I have some spaghetti squash and some acorn squash growing in now. As we come up on the third row of plants, you'll see some wild mustards, more of the rudbeckias, and then, some weeds, because why not? They're really just providing more food to the soil life. So we'll encourage them for now, and as we obtain the plants that we want, we'll cut them back, plant in, and then encourage the ones that we want. We have some York blueberry down here, some wild viola, and some Monarda didyma. We also have Monarda fistulosa elsewhere on the property, but not in this bed. Coming along, you can see some of our Clethra alnifolia, or butterfly bush. This provides a good mid-season source of nectar for hummingbirds and butterflies and moths, as well as the bees. We really like it because we cut back the Monarda each year, once or twice in a season, to encourage additional flowering, help get the bees through the dearth. But the Clethras provide a good forage for them while those are growing back in. Here we have another one of my blueberries. I am not sure the cultivar of this, but even more comfrey. Albaching 14, all grown from root cuttings from an initial purchase several years ago. Here you can see the last of my cultivar blueberries in this bed. I've actually got a few berries left that have come in since yesterday, so I'm going to have a snack later. As we come around the last of the bit of this bed, the tie-in, if you will, has some sedum maximum, bachelor's button, savory, some catmint in there somewhere, and a whole bunch of clover that we use for feeding our rabbits and providing nitrogen back to the whole garden system. That's the quick tour of the front area. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you like, we'll show you another area of gardens and tell you all about our plans and goals for that space too. Hope your gardens are happy. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you again soon.